lesson 32, lesson.
Ready?
Yeah. Who else is on for today? In the classroom, the meet.
Okay, so today we're going to learn about the characteristics of living things. There are 5 characteristics that all living things share. That is that we are composed of cells. We will respond to the environment, maintain homeostasis, reproduce, and grow and develop. And so all living things are made up of cells. The cell is the smallest unit of life. Some organisms can be made up of just one. Those are called unicellular. And then there are other organisms, such as humans, that can be made up of trillions of cells. Now, each cell is going to be organized and carries out a specific function. And this is also going to contain hereditary information. So as you can see in the pyramid here, you start with just elements. Elements in the atmosphere, they form bonds to create molecules. Those molecules can then connect with other molecules to form cells. The cells then will connect with each other to form tissue. And then those can form an organ and then an organ system. And then it gets all the way to the organism.
I'll have to see because I can't see that.
Yeah. And it's a lot smaller than I was expecting.
Is it small on your screen too?
Mm-hmm. So living organisms respond to their environment. A condition or event in an environment is called a stimulus. So the stimulus is the condition or an event in an environment.
Or
now
also called stimuli, right?
If it's multiple. Yep, stimuli is the plural. So the change that happens in the living organism because of that stimulus is called the response. So the organism responds to a stimulus. Now, stimuli that living things respond to can include light, dark.
Are we on 5? Slide 5?
Yeah. They can include light and darkness, chemicals, taste, sound, and touch. In this little video here, it's going to show on that right there. It's going to show the stimulus was the bug crawling on the plant.
I was going to watch it on yours because I don't know if it'll block.
Okay, ready?
Oh, yeah, I got to request access for it. Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, you see the bug crawls onto the plant.
Mm-hmm.
That's the stimulus. The plant closes around the bug. That is the
Is that one of those
response.
like a fly trap?
Looks like it.
It does.
Now, living organisms maintain homeostasis. So a great example of maintaining homeostasis is the body temperature. Think about when you're cold, you start to shiver. That shiver is a response to your body temperature dropping lower than the 98.6 degrees. And the shiver will bring your body's temperature back up.
I've been doing a lot of that lately.
Now also, excuse me, if you get hot, your body starts to, what happens when you get hot? What does your body do?
You start sweating.
You start sweating. Yep. So and that is the way for the body to cool itself down. That is called homeostasis. Now think about if you get sick, your body temperature goes out the roof, you start having a fever. And this is to protect your body from the dangerous, hostile, foreign body or the virus. Also, all living things have to reproduce. Reproduction is the process by which all living things make other organisms similar to themselves. So, what about rocks? You got two rocks, they're sitting next to each other. Can they produce another rock?
No.
Nope, never can, because they are not alive. Now, what about a wolf and a fox?
Possibly.
Well, the thing
Not really, because they're
No.
both predators and they don't usually bond with each other. But if they, let's say a puppy fox and a puppy wolf, if they were abandoned and they're born around the same time and they grew up together, possibly.
But they're not the
really.
same species,
Yeah.
so they wouldn't actually produce any offspring. You've got the horse and the donkey. They can produce a mule, but that mule can never produce any offspring. That tells you that the donkey and the horse are not the same species. Now, if an animal or plant stops reproducing,
But if like two wolves, but from different breeds, or they're the same. They're both wolves, but they're both.
Think about dog breeds. You know,
Yeah.
wolf.
Yeah, but like, let's say a Mexican wolf and or just say two different breeds of wolves, like a Mexican wolf and a different kind of wolf. Let's say that can work, right?
should. Yep. So if you have an animal or a plant or other organism that stops reproducing, then there's no more offspring to replace the individuals that die. So if this were to occur, then that species would cease to exist. It would become extinct. Think about earlier we learned about the quagga or quagga. I can't remember how to pronounce that. But they went extinct because they quit reproducing. On the next slide, living organisms must grow and develop. So a one-celled organism can grow by increasing the size of the cell. Now, multicellular organisms, they grow by having their cells divide, so they get more cells. Think about humans. When we grow, we also develop. So this development can happen over a short period of time. It can also happen over an expansive period of time. So think about the baby, from the baby to the toddler. There's a lot of change occurring in just a short amount of time. And then again, in puberty, you have a lot of changes happening rapidly. But once you hit a young adult, your changes slow down. You pretty much stay the same until you become an elder adult and then decline to death. So let's look at this. You have living things and non-living things. The living things can include like amoeba, a man, algae, birds, cats. An amoeba is a unicellular organism, I guess. Let's see.
And then what, like a starfish or a lizard? Aren't they asexual? Can be. Like if they lose their tail, it'll grow back. Or is or,
That wouldn't make them asexual.
oh,
I
but
think we
like a
missed
star-
that one. No, we didn't.
But like on a starfish.
Yeah,
if
we
it's
missed
cut
a
in half,
bunch.
it'll-
Hold on, let's go backwards. Somehow my thing skipped way ahead. What is happening? Okay, hold on. I gotta restart.
Which one did we miss? Because
I don't
did I do
know.
the first one or this one? Yeah, we did. Hang on.
Did we?
Yeah.
Okay, we were
We
here.
did every one of them.
We were there. Oh, yeah, I guess we did. I thought I missed one.
You just went from 4 to 5 and then back to 4 for the video. Or
That's
4
right.
to 5 to 6 and then back to 4.
That's right. Okay, so all living things. So insects are considered living. Now, some non-living things. So shoes, snow, a zombie is not living, a house, and glass. And there's just a list of a bunch of different things there. You can look at it if you'd like. All right, now energy. Living things need energy. And what is energy? It is the ability to do work. But in order to do work, you need energy. So animals are going to get their energy from food, and plants get their energy from the sun. Well, how does that happen? So you've got an autotroph or a producer. Those two words mean the exact same thing. It is an organism that is able to create energy from their environment. So they are going to take,
That's photosynthesis.
they're going to take the sun, they're going to take some carbon dioxide, they're going to use that to create sugar and oxygen. And then a heterotroph is going to be the organism that gets its energy from eating other organisms. Those are also called consumers. So your autotrophs use the sun to create their energy, and then the heterotrophs will eat the autotrophs to get their energy. Living things need water. So how do living things live where there's hardly any water? Well, that's because human civilizations, they've been built because we have learned how to transport and store water, because without that water, the population couldn't be very big. And why would scientists be looking for water on Mars? Are we going to try to take that water for ourselves?
Did you skip number 10 or were you just on it? Because I switched over to.
Is 10 in the autotroph?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I went over that. So why would scientists be looking for water on Mars?
Because if if Earth becomes inhabitable at one point, such as, have you seen the show, the 144,000 on Netflix?
I haven't seen it.
Anyway, all the air on Earth becomes radioactive, for quite a few generations, like that, hundreds of years. And then they send 100 teenagers down that have done so-called crimes, which are really not. They're trying to do the right thing. Anyway, they go down and they send them down because see if the Earth was habitable now. So they put wristbands on them with needles to check their vitals from the spaceship. And they started taking them off and the people on the ship thought they were dying because they had no way to communicate. And then also, while during that, people that took them off and threw them into the fire, the ones that were still good, one of the really smart kids that went down, he was trying to make a device so they can try to communicate up there in that field.
Well, okay, so other than trying to find us a new home, if we could find water on another planet, then most likely there's going to be life, because water is essential to all life as we know it. Now, humans can live only 3 days without water because our bodies are over 60% water. Now, most living organisms are at least 50%. Living organisms also give off large amounts of water, like when humans sweat. And that's why intake of water is vital. Now, water is important to maintain all the special functions that your body performs as well.
Isn't there a high amount of sodium in sweat?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's why dogs lick your hands all the time.
Yeah. Now, water is important for plants too. It helps transport the nutrients throughout the plant. So it's going to draw those nutrients from the soil. And it's going to flow upwards with water. If there's not enough water in the cells of a plant, it will droop. So the water helps to keep the plant's shape. And it dissolves, it carries dissolved sugar and other nutrients throughout the plant. But one major consequence of drought is that the food crops won't survive. And even though plants can last longer than humans without water, they still have to have some water supply. All living organisms require a certain temperature range in order to live. You have the endotherm, and that is an organism that can create and maintain thermal energy inside its body. Humans, really any mammal, are good examples of endotherms. Although we still cannot live in temperature ranges that are too high or too low, we can withstand some variation. Unlike the ectotherm, who relies on the environment to maintain body temperature. So if you have a lizard or any other reptile, you'll notice that they like to bask in the sun on rocks, and that is to keep themselves warm. Also, a lot of them will live underground in order to keep their body temperature regulated and the same. One of the reasons humans could not live on Mars is because the temperature is too cold. And we also could not live on Venus because the temperature would be too hot. Now, living things need oxygen. The air on Earth is mostly made up of the following gases. You have 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and small amounts of other gases such as argon and carbon dioxide. Now, it's the oxygen that living cells need in order to help in the process of converting food to energy. So without that oxygen, most living things will die. When we breathe in, oxygen is carried to our cells to help create the energy needed to help in the process of breaking down food. When we breathe out, we release carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere. Okay, so now the plants, when we release that carbon dioxide, the plants, they'll take that carbon dioxide along with the sun, and they will convert it through photosynthesis to sugar and oxygen. So as we need the plant to eat for energy, but also the oxygen they give off to breathe in, and the plant needs us to give off the carbon dioxide so that it can convert the sunlight into its energy. Living organisms need a place to call their home. So this place has to provide them with all of the needs that we've mentioned, such as it needs to have enough water. It has to have the right temperature range. It's going to have enough food and air. Animals, plants, and bacteria can be very specific to where they live. Like the cactus, it doesn't need much water, so it can live in the desert. The bat doesn't need as much light, so it can live in a dark cave. But a tiger, it's going to need a lot of space so that it can have an adequate food source. We eat to give us energy, but how do we get that energy? Well, that's going to be a question for chemistry. So biology is the study of life, and chemistry is the study of matter, its properties, and the reactions or changes it undergoes. Well, living things are made up of matter, therefore chemistry and biology go hand in hand. Well, what is matter? It's the smallest unit that have all the properties of the matter, and it's called an atom. When an atom bonds to another atom, then a molecule is formed. So an element is a substance made up of one type of atom. So a pure element or pure substance can be things such as gold, silver, iron. Now, when you have two elements, when they form, it's a molecule. So if you have two hydrogens and one oxygen, when they bond together, you have H2O or water. Elements are going to have a letter symbol, and that's represented by a capital letter. So some elements will have a lowercase letter attached to it as well. So don't get confused by capital C, lowercase o, because that would be cobalt. But capital C and capital O is going to be carbon monoxide, because the capital letter lets you know that it's a new element. Carbon is the element that all life is made of. If it is alive, or if it was alive, then carbon is somewhere to be found. Carbon doesn't like to be alone, and it has 4 places of attachment, meaning it's going to readily bond itself to other elements to form different molecules. A chemical formula is going to show what elements and how many atoms of each element are chemically bonded to form a molecule. Whenever you see a capital letter in a chemical formula, that means that the different element is part of that molecule. Some of those, they are called macromolecules. These are going to be found in life. Macro means big. Macromolecules literally translates to big molecules. A few are very important in biology, and you might recognize them. Have you heard of carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids?
Nucleic acids and lipids, no.
No? So lipids is just also known as fats and oils. So you know your olive oil that your mom might cook with, that's going to be a lipid. Also butter, that's a lipid. That's your fats. And nucleic acid is your DNA. That's what your DNA is made out of. So let's start with carbohydrates. Lots of fad diets will tell you to lay off the carbs or say that you should only eat complex carbohydrates. Well, what is a carbohydrate? Carbohydrates are made of sugars and starches. The only elements that are found are going to be hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen. There are 3 simple sugars that are in life. There's galactose, glucose, and fructose. You'll find galactose in milk, glucose in every cell of every living organism, and fructose is found in sugar. Is the sugar in fruit. Now, these types of sugars are going to be called monosaccharides, meaning they're composed of only one sugar. If you get 2 simple sugars and join them together, then you have a disaccharide. Now, once you get multiple sugars put together, then you get a polysaccharide. And poly just means many. So many sugars. Saccharide means sugar, okay? Now, mammals are going to store extra sugar in their bodies, and they will convert it into other polysaccharides called glycogen. Now, the glycogen is your storage for energy. Plants also make cellulose, and that is a carbohydrate that forms cells and provides structural support. Okay, now lipids. Lipid is another name for fat and oil. Fat has a bad reputation, but it is actually vital for life. Cells store energy as lipids, and our bodies will use fat for insulation. Lipids are also made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, but they're going to be in a different arrangement than the carbohydrates are. Some common lipids found in life are glycerol, and cholesterol. Proteins. Protein is another important macromolecule of life. Protein is found in muscle, in hair, in the fur of animals. Proteins provide structural support for animals. They're made out of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, but also phosphorus and nitrogen. And then some proteins will have sulfur as well. The building blocks of proteins are going to be called amino acids. And there are 20 amino acids which make up a protein. Each amino acid has a carbon, an amino group, and a carboxyl group. And then it'll also have a hydrogen atom. And then there's going to be a fourth group, and it's going to be represented by an R. And this R is what will tell us what each amino group is based off of what comes off of it. So a complete protein contains one or more polypeptides. And if you'll see in this photo here, it shows the different ways that the different shapes that proteins can take. So nucleic acids, those are the building blocks for DNA and RNA. So DNA and RNA are the hereditary material of life. DNA allows information and characteristics to be passed down from generation to generation, and RNA helps make the DNA. So nucleic acids are made from single units called nucleotides, of which there are 4 different types. Now, how these nucleotides combine together determines the information that the nucleic acid contains. So let's talk a little bit about chemical reactions. Chemical reactions occur when 2 or more atoms or molecules combine together to make new molecules with different properties. So you're going to have 2 molecules or atoms, and it's going to undergo a reaction. And at the other side of the reaction, you will have 2 brand new atoms or molecules. The molecules being combined together are called the reactants, and the products are on the other side of the chemical reaction. So on the left side, you have reactants. On the right side, you have products. Chemical reactions are written with arrows to show which way the reaction happens. The molecules on the left, well, okay, we just said that. Let's see, in biology, we will study several important chemical reactions, such as this one here is called photosynthesis. So you start with 6 molecules of carbon dioxide, and you will combine it with 6 molecules of water. When light energy heats it up, it will react, and it will change into sugar and 6 molecules of oxygen. And that specific sugar molecule is called glucose. It is a carbohydrate. So in order for that reaction to take place, energy needs to be input. So in photosynthesis, the light energy is required to make the reaction happen, to make it go. Hydrogen and oxygen is all around us, but at room temperature, they're not going to combine to make water. Many times, heat is going to be required to make a reaction happen. However, sometimes different substances can be part of a chemical reaction, not to form a new product, but to speed the reaction up. So those substances are going to be called catalysts. So catalysts will speed up a reaction. On the flip side, if you need to slow a reaction down, you can add an inhibitor. From IPC, yep. So the catalyst is the substance that speeds up the chemical reaction. But the cool thing about a catalyst is it's not actually going to be used up in the reaction. So it's going to be on the right side and on the left side exactly as it was. It's just a spectator. It's just there to make the reaction go faster.
Kind of like a catalytic converter in a car?
I have no idea. Now, in biological systems, the most common catalysts are going to be protein molecules called enzymes. These enzymes are absolutely essential if chemical reactions are to occur in cells. So whenever we eat food, enzymes will help us digest that food. So next time you eat a cheeseburger, which is full of carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids, think about all the chemical reactions that are taking place with those enzymes so that energy can be available for you to use. And that concludes today's lesson. If you have any questions, feel free to turn your mic on and ask. If not, you're free to go. This concludes lesson 1. Here in Amarillo, we're going to be testing on Tuesday and Wednesday. So we'll be testing on Wednesday, the 23rd. I'm not sure what your teacher in Texarkana is going to want you to do, but that's what we're doing here. Have you been able to join the Google Classroom, Jason or Faith? All right, good deal. So on that classroom, I've uploaded all the material for the last 3 class periods. I know that you've missed just 1 class, so it's not a big deal. But also I uploaded the video of the class. So if you wanted to go back and watch those videos, you can. But starting on, let's see, Monday the 28th, we will be starting in Unit 2. So if you don't want to get behind the class, I suggest using this weekend to complete all of your lessons, activities, quizzes, and test on the 23rd, Wednesday. And I am going to sign out. So if you have any questions, you can ask them through the Google Classroom. You can email me, or you can hold on. Y'all are texting me. Let me look and read it.
I'm fine.
Yeah, let me get that code for you. Here is the Google Classroom, and I don't know how to go there. Let's see. Here is the Google code. All right, if you want to write that down. Maybe I can. Here, I pasted it in here. You might be able to get there directly from that link I just threw on Google, on the chat. But yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. But it might be wise for y'all to go ahead and get that Unit 1 test out of the way so that you don't get behind, or I don't get too far ahead of you.
Can I go back real fast so I can get that thing out of the way?
Let's see, it is 8:41. Why don't you spend the next 20 minutes working on your lessons? We can work together. Oh, there we go. Good job, Faith. Have you finished Unit 2? Are you moving along quickly, or I don't really know that you would need to come listen in on the classes if you're already way ahead. So as far as for you, I would just, if you haven't moved on to Unit 2 yet, I would just wait, and you can start fresh. Oh, you're on Unit 3. Oh, goodness. Okay. You may ask your teacher if you really even need to be in my class then. I mean, I don't mind having you in here by any means, but it might just be redundant for you. Jason, are you on track with us, or are you ahead? Okay. Well, one thing that I do know is when it comes time for the STAR prep and the STAR review, that will definitely be a good time for y'all to join in, even if you're ahead or whatnot. So, all right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and sign out. Y'all have a great day. And Faith, I would ask your teacher what he thinks or he or she thinks about whether you need to continue to come or not. It looks like we'll be finished with, we'll be finished with Unit 3. November 18th is when it looks like we'll be finished with Unit 3. So you'll probably get way ahead of us, but that's okay. That's okay if you do that. Or you could focus on your other work and stick with us. It's really just up to you. But I'm going to go ahead and sign out, and I will see you guys on Monday.